First strike.
We are live for a very special episode of the
First Strike
podcast. For start the show, gonna plug our sponsor, FaceToFaceGames.com, the #1 place to get your Magic the Gathering singles. Right now, 15% off high-end scan cards. So if you are a baller, you should go to FaceToFaceGames.com, click that banner, and get linked to 15% off high-end. They're actually all 15% off. It's not just select. Today's special guest right here, my table for two,
First Strike
co-host / hype man, and we also have the most controversial writer contributor of Magic.FaceToFaceGames.com history, and just recent MCQ winner with Blue Red Phoenix, Mr. Daniel Fournier. Welcome to the show, Dan.
What's up? Thanks for having me. Although I resent that slightly. It's got to be someone more controversial than me. Come on.
I don't know. Like, I actually, it's the first time in a while where either a colleague or someone would come up to me and it's like, "Have you seen the comments to Fournier's article?" I'm like, "What's going on?" Because Keith tends to take care of the Toronto writers, the Ontario contributors, and the Pro Tour stuff. So I was like, "Huh? What's going on?" And I read this, and then Matt Commander Schmaltz looks at it, and he's like, "But it's not even that bad." And that was interesting.
Yeah, I guess I said some things about Legacy that made some people not too happy. So, oh well.
Yeah, I saw you in talked about in a Legacy podcast group, and yeah, they're just like, "F this guy."
This Fournier idiot has clearly never played a match of Legacy before. What does he know?
To be fair, nothing. I don't actually know anything. So it turns out that they were right all along.
I feel like everyone who plays Legacy regularly, it's like they're in an abusive relationship where they just get like wastelanded and force of willed out of a game where nothing they did mattered, and they're like, "It's part of the health of the format. You gotta keep these cards legal."
This is fine. I enjoy losing every game on turn one.
We also got Andy, Elliot, and John, the usual crew. I mean, let's just get straight to it. Congratulations, Anne, on making it to back to the MC, and with Blue Red Phoenix, with Enigma Drake. It was interesting. The weekend was filled with a lot of good streams. Like MtG Alberta was streaming their MCQ, and then Kitchener had a stream with one of our favorite guests ever as one of the commentators, Mr. Detective Dollywall. And yeah, congrats again. How was the tournament? How'd you come up with Blue Red Phoenix as your weapon of choice?
First off, thanks, and shout outs to Sean. He is the best. It was very fun talking a lot of trash with him on the stream all day. And nice hat, Alex. I like it. It was a very fun tournament to play, actually. It was run by a lot of like the usual cast around the Toronto area, so it was super smooth, super pleasant. I actually submitted an article about Phoenix this morning, so hopefully that's going up, I think, tomorrow morning. Basically, it's the only deck that I have consistently been winning with in the standard format, and every week I'll basically play a bunch of leagues with Gruul or Sultai or whatever, lose a bunch with it, and be like, whatever. Like, I'm going to jam a few games with Phoenix, and then I can't lose with Phoenix ever. I'm like, all right, well, I guess it's fated to be this way. I kept changing the deck over like week to week. I lost a win in at the SCG in Syracuse. Got traumatized by losing to Red a bunch, and then like added Enigma Drakes to the main deck, which changed a bunch of matchups around in pretty significant ways. And then won, I guess, an MCQ with it. And that was sweet.
But people haven't adopted your technology, your Enigma technology.
I don't really blame them all that much. It's kind of out there. It makes sense that the people who are building their Phoenix decks going down a very different path than I am would continue to go down that path rather than do what I am. I think the problem with a lot of the Phoenix decks that are going around is that they're not really taking into account the lessons that have been learned by like Phoenix deck builders over the course of this format and the last one. Like if you look at the best Phoenix deck from the last format, it was the Pascal Viren list that had like 3 Electromancers and was taking advantage of cards like Mirari's Conjecture to kind of grind out games. But if you then look at the kind of stuff that Phoenix decks are doing in this format, people are randomly just playing a bunch of like Lightning Strikes and like God Eternal Kefnets and stuff. These cards that like kind of play to the board or try to be more aggressive in a way. And they're cutting down on like radical ideas. They're cutting down on ways to actually like discard their Phoenixes. There were a bunch of decks playing like Discovery Dispersals. And all of it kind of just makes no sense to me as someone who's been playing Phoenix in Standard for a long time. It violates all of the kind of principles of what we've learned makes these decks tick. So I wanted to try to return to what I know works about the deck and then see how I can modify that to adapt to the current format. Like I knew, for instance, that I didn't need Fiery Cannonade in my sideboard to beat up on Legion's Landing decks, and that instead you could just play Entrancing Melody and it would like win those matchups as well as do other stuff. And yeah, you got to like apply a bunch of those things, and I felt like my deck, because of that, was actually kind of ahead of the curve, despite it not really doing anything new. And I got to win.
Can you mention, I guess, some of the cards that that people are still playing that you think are bad in the Phoenix decks?
I think Lightning Strike is pretty like indefensible. There's like a paragraph in my article on this, but since that doesn't exist yet, basically there's nothing that Lightning Strike kills other than your opponent that isn't done better than Lava Coil. And this deck doesn't tend to like win in small increments of damage, just so like a lethal burn spell would actually do something. It's like, okay, I'm attacking for 9 and 9, and then they're dead. Or I'm attacking for like a 21-point swing with like 2 Phoenixes and a huge Crackling Drake. That extra like 3 points of burn is like never actually going to kill your opponent. The only reason I think that's valid for trying to play Lightning Strike over like additional copies of Lava Coil is wanting to keep Planeswalkers off the board. But Lightning Striking a Planeswalker is the exact same thing as just playing an Arclight Phoenix and attacking with it. And it's not like you need to kill Planeswalkers on turn 2 or something, right? The deck is basically, especially post-board with Legion of War bosses, exceptional at keeping Planeswalkers off the board. And so, like, leaving yourself open to cards that have 4 toughness or something like Rekindling Phoenix kind of, like, doesn't make sense. So you're better off just playing more Lava Coils, more Beacon Bolts, stuff that deal with things that your deck's not already good at dealing with.
Man, I think a lot of what he says makes a lot of sense. Okay.
I like the hat adjustments, Alex. Solid.
First strike.
First strike.
Alex, you don't think Blue Red Phoenix is actually good, right? You said it was like a regret of yours to have played Blue Red Phoenix instead of Mono Blue at your last MC. Is that okay? That's how you feel about the deck. And that I mean, on our show also yet to be released, he mentions how like other archetypes have made more. He feels other archetypes have made more improvements than Blue Red Phoenix. But man, Dan, I have to admit, like the adjustments, the logic behind them, and how you're not playing strikes is convincing me that I have to give your list a try. Andy, as someone who 5-0'd in the recorded queue for the website, what do you think of Daniel's list?
I liked his list quite a bit. I played it in a couple leagues, and it does a lot of the things that the Phoenix deck's supposed to be trying to do. I always hated Discovery Dispersal, especially with the addition of the finale. It just kind of didn't make sense to me to play that card anymore. But and I like that he went up to 4 Tormenting Voice. Obviously, when it's bad, it's not great, but I think it's just good often enough. Especially it helps with flooding, which is the main issue with the deck, in my opinion, is you can't really do much about the flooding. So I think, I like Dan's list a lot. I like Enigma Drake. I wish like Drake's was playable with like Dive Downs because I really loved that deck, but Dive Down is unplayable because of Teferi.
Yeah, you can't get away with playing any. You just can't get away with playing a Drake-centric strategy because you need Dive Down and Spell Pierce to be able to defend your Drakes because it's your only avenue of attack. and those cards are just like hideously unplayable in the face of Teferi. There's also like no removal in the format all of a sudden, so like I realized that and then thought, oh, maybe like Dregs is good. So I ran Dregs through a bunch of games on Arena and then just lost all the time because it actually turns out the deck's bad. So,
Elliot, John, like any questions for Blue Red?
I do just want to quickly mention that for as long as I've known Daniel, he's been trying to play Steam Vents in just whatever format it is, and that for people
cut
considering
his mic.
for people considering playing this deck, there were, to my knowledge, 2 people in the tournament he won with the exact same 75, and the difference was first place and last place was Grand Prix champion Cale Thompson. So that just goes to show how much mileage Dan's getting here on his experience with Steam Vents, and maybe the deck is not a 10 out of 10.
The deck's like fundamentally not one of the most powerful decks in the format. There's no doubt about that. Like, especially if Alex thinks that like he should, like Mono Blue, for instance, was way better than Phoenix at the last Standard Pro Tour, and I like that's just 100% true. Like in that context, the Mono Blue deck was like doing what Phoenix was doing, just significantly better than what Phoenix ever can do. But my reasoning for picking up Phoenix and playing in this format is just because of not because it's like inherently powerful, but because it does something kind of unique in that I wanted a deck that was capable of always being able to pressure planeswalkers, pressure life totals very aggressively, but also be able to have a significant amount of velocity going into the late game, such that they can like keep up with more mid-range decks, kind of grind them out. And Phoenix is kind of the only thing that does that. It's not powerful, but it's fairly consistent, and at least consistent at being able to have flying power on the board, which is good right now, like really good right now.
Yeah, I do definitely agree that it attacks the format from a different angle than any other deck, and I was just wanted to stress how important it is, especially with this deck, that when you're attacking from that different angle, you have to be really experienced with how the deck functions. There's a lot of like really weird hands that you keep in a deck like Phoenix because there's 30 cantrips in the deck. There's a lot of like really different and weird angles of attack, and how do you play around Narset and Teferi, which are 2 guards that interact really well against you independently, and navigating those board states are really impressive or really important. So it's definitely one you need to be prepared with if you're going to play in a tournament.
Yeah, I definitely can't recommend just picking it up cold if you've never played this archetype before. Luckily, it's been around for quite a while, so people generally have some games under their belt with it. But if you aren't winning with it, don't be like, oh yeah, Fournier posted a sideboard guide, I should do that. Just stay away. If you're not having the same experience that I am, then I recommend just sticking to something else. No offense.
Yeah, when I watch people play the deck, I think the most misplayed card in the deck for me was Opt. Is like I would often save my Opts because it's like one of the only ways to trigger a Phoenix on turn 4 without an Electromancer, and everyone else is just firing off Ops like turn 1 and 2 every time they have the free mana. And I think that card is the poorly played card in the deck that I see from people without the experience.
I just never understand what people are discarding with their tormenting voices when I see them play. When they have like a difficult tormenting voice choice, like let's say they have nothing going on, but they have like a Drake, so they kind of want to be firing off their turn 2 tormenting voice, like they need to hit a land drop or something. And then people always, to me, discard the weirdest things. It's a really hard decision to make, but there's definitely still an answer. So
maybe you were misplaying with the deck.
Yeah, Alex, you suck. Get it together.
Man, to obviously link to some of the Twitter controversy, your free article tomorrow has a sideboard guide? That's value. That is value right there.
There's already a joke in the article about that, so you're ruining it, just saying.
But me, like, on a serious note, I'm always for, especially, it's been a while, just like content producers haven't been able to or haven't tried to monetize their stuff, and it took a while before. I don't know what started it. I mean, it took a while for it to really for it to really grow. Like the game podcast, maybe is when people like that's Jerry and Brian got so big to the point that other pro players started their own show and like, hey, we can start our own pod and monetize that and start this movement. But I'm all for creators, content creators being able to get more than they have been. Like before, I mean, a lot of sites were just offering peanuts. So I'm always for that. So anything, I wouldn't understand the negativity for me of people providing cyborg guides that people put effort into constructing. Just like if I was playing Jet Skywalkers, I'd pay for the Lotus box winner's guide if I was playing that deck.
Yeah, definitely shout outs to all the content producers trying their hardest to get all their stuff out there. Like, I don't know, like people shouldn't work for free. Like, don't expect people to work for free. These people are putting in significant hours, figuring out standard, kind of breaking the format. And if you're not like streaming it on Twitch and getting all your like subscriber revenue and ad revenue and stuff, then like, I don't know, it's like not unreasonable to put it behind a paywall. It's also reasonable to like start crap online and like be like, your paid deck list sucks. Like that's funny. I don't know. It's like, it's a good drama, but it's not like a reasonable. It's not a good argument. Pay people for their work. Like it's pretty straightforward, I think.
It's randomly raining cash over here. Table for two doesn't pay anyone yet, but we will accept free meals because my wallet's getting light with all the
Table for two.
First strike. But I'm losing. So Dan, did you feel some of the weaknesses of the blue-red Phoenix set? Do you feel that it's inconsistent, or just like adding that Enigma Drake really helps the sometimes people feel they draw the non-threat part of the deck, etc.
I mean, sometimes I certainly found that. So I played the deck during the Arena MCQ as well as the Star City Games Open, and there were just a couple losses throughout each tournament where it's like, oh, there aren't any Phoenixes in the top 30 cards in my deck, so I lose. And that's just kind of going to happen, right? If you have a deck based around a particular strategy, and if you have a deck whose strategy is based around a certain card, and that card is only in the bottom 10 cards of your deck, then you are not going to win. It's just that simple. That's like a thing that's kind of recurring throughout Magic. And I think that's fine. Like all decks have fail rates. This one's fail rate is actually pretty low, just given the sheer number of cantrips and card selection that you have. So I don't find that to be like that big of a problem. Yes, it happens. The addition of the Enigma Drakes wasn't really to that end. It was to fix the red matchup, because the most important card in that matchup, I realized after winning and losing to it a bunch, was Crackling Drake. Having Crackling Drake stick and being able to kill them. Because no matter how effective you are at trading in the early game, you cannot beat Experimental Frenzy unless you have a fast clock. Multiple Phoenixes aren't going to be enough of a clock against Frenzy, because Frenzy is very good at killing Phoenixes with like shocks and lightning strikes or whatever off the top. But if you have a large Enigma Drake or a large Crackling Drake and they do not immediately find Lava Coil, it doesn't matter if they have a Frenzy or a Chandra or whatever, you're going to kill them. So that's why adding 2 more Drakes to my deck was significant. And the fact that it like ups the threat count a little bit is kind of nice. But those slots were threats beforehand. Like there were Saheelis, which are kind of threats, I suppose. Thumbs down for Enigma Drake or thumbs down for Saheeli? Who knows? Both. Got it. Thumbs down for the whole deck. All right, let's go.
Is Saheeli bad in the deck?
No, I think Saheeli is very strong, but it's very strong at doing one specific thing, which is kind of grinding out a board presence, which isn't something that you necessarily want to do in most of your matchups. It's good when your opponent isn't playing very many creatures, has planeswalkers like, say, Teferi or something that you want to be able to pressure, but it plays a similar role to Legion Warboss in that sense. Honestly, the reason why I'm playing like 2 Saheelis, 3 Legion Warboss instead of 4 Legion Warboss, 1 Saheeli, is because there's Sarkans in my sideboard as well, and having like leftover planeswalkers in play is nice. Also, there's a lot of synergy with Saheeli in the deck, like it being able to the like being able to turn the servos into Crockling Drakes or whatever is very nice. Kind of gives your Crockling Drakes haste in a sense, as long as you've set it up. And that's also just very good to keeping Planeswalkers off the board. So kind of all of the decisions that go into this deck building are like, okay, so every single matchup is going to have like Teferi, Nissa, Tamiyo, whatever. How can we make sure that they're not getting any value off of those cards? We're going to build our deck that way.
Man, so Alex, I think you need to consider this deck for your tournament in 2 weeks.
No, I don't do it.
It sounds good. It actually sounds really good.
His matches are way more important than mine. I'm able to take huge risks. I don't think he is.
100, what is it? 100K to first, right? Man, that is balling.
Yeah, I was playing for 2K, which I lose flying to Barcelona. So
we'll get we're gonna get to the heart of that. Andy, Elliot, John. I know John Standard's not relevant to you anymore for a while until Modern. What about Andy and Elliot? You want to add what you guys been playing if you have a tournament to test for?
I have a PTQ not this weekend, but the weekend after. And I've been playing a lot of Sultai Dread Horde. And I think I like that deck quite a bit. Nissa is just absolutely ridiculous. You basically can't come back from like a turn 3 or 4 Nissa very easily. It dominates the board and it kills very fast, and the mana advantage is huge. So I think it's just one of the. I can't believe like nobody picked this as one of their top cards. Like myself included, I completely missed on how obscene it was. And yeah, so I've been playing a lot of Nissa decks. I saw that the Fandom Legends tournament today had 2 Bant Ramp decks in the top 4. And they were both playing just a ton of Mana Dorks, Nissas, and Crazies. And one of them was even playing the White Finale. And I think I personally, I haven't liked those decks that much, but maybe the version without all the steel stuff would be good, because I don't like the stealing card stuff, but I do like the Finale.
All right, I think the list is Alex linked me to it to try it. Fabrizio Anteri's list, who tweeted out that he's been killing on Arena with like 38-2 or 38-6 record, and yeah, PV tweeted about it like you said, and so that's what people have been trying. And
yeah, PV won the tournament with the deck.
Well, I've tried a bit, didn't love it, and I also would love to play Dan's deck if people are playing this deck.
I just get all my lands wrathed every time I try to play that deck. Get all my Mana Dorks and lands wrathed, and then I look very stupid.
Yeah, I was playing. I had more success personally. I have this Super Arena Cup thing on Sunday, hosted by Pascal Maynard. Final Nub was like, what is that thing? But it's just a local stream tournament. It's going to be streamed on Twitch. So I'm still prepping for it, and I did play the Bant deck, and I played a Simic ramp deck that Final Nub linked me to by Tangrams, which I thought was great. Was pretty good. I was winning in the Moto queues. Was 4-1 with it. Sometimes 5-0 maybe. Sometimes a bit. But
you should see what Tangrams is playing now. So yeah. I played against them in a couple of leagues last night, and they absolutely slapped me around with the Karn's Temporal Sundering. And I just could not win after they cast that card. They're like, play Nissa, like bounce your Nissa, take an extra turn, attack with my lands, like make another land, attack with my lands, huge crisis, go. And all of a sudden, what I have in play is like 1/3/3 and a Mana Dork or 2. They have 3/3/3s, a Nissa at very high loyalty, and their Mana Dorks, and I'm immediately dead. Can't play my Nissa, it'll just die. Can't do anything, or I'll just die. So that card absolutely kicked my ass, and the card could be good. He was also playing Little Teferi, and Karn's Temporal Sundering is a powerful card. Like 6 mana Time Walk with just bounce a permanent sounds pretty good when there's a lot of really good legendary permanents that stick around. So I think maybe that card's the truth, because wow, was it powerful. Even like at worst, it's like an insane Time Walk. Or I guess at worst you can't cast it, but
he actually messaged me on Discord. We've been chatting, He listens to some, I don't know this show or our show, but he listens to some of our content. But he actually messaged and he's like, man, I beat Andy in a queue, and he was like the first one to get the second person to get a trophy on like the new season or whatever, and then he got a second one really quickly with the new list. And I actually liked his old list, even though like people were down on Grazer and stuff. I found that it accelerated without risk, was able to get you the Nissa quicker, and with the Gruul list copying the KC list, having 4 Phoenixes now, it just protects my Nissa for 1 turn, and that's sometimes quite relevant to be able to untap and play a high, really strong Krasis. I'm going to test the Tangram's Bant list. I actually like it more than the Fabrizio list that people are playing, because it's playing these sweet cards, like you said, Temporal Sundering, and it doesn't play Trostani, which I personally haven't been that impressed with it, just because sometimes a lot of these mirror matches comes down to them stealing my Nissa, and I just want my Nissa back. I don't want my crappy creatures back. I just want Planeswalkers on tap, play Krasis. So that's where I'm at. I'm probably going to try Bat. And again, the perfect failsafe is mono red or blue red Phoenix. I'm going to try Dan's list because he's convinced me that his list is packed with logic and power.
If there's 2 things I love, they are facts and logic. Let me tell you. Love those things. Big fan.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, don't play red. I think red is really bad now. Everyone's really reacted to it. There's infinite bindings. There's infinite, I don't know, hate cards like D-Sparks, etc. It just seems really hateful. I wouldn't play it for the next few weeks at the very least.
He sounds so sad, like he just scrubbed out of MCQ with it recently. It was a very sad voice. Andy, were you jumping in with some extra thoughts?
Oh, I was just going to mention before that Tangram's second trophy was against me for a trophy, and he crushed me for the trophy, and I immediately went to the leaderboard, and I'm like, God damn it. Foiled again. I think he's 5-0 against me or something insane in the last week. It's crazy.
And he actually it's pretty sweet. He just posted decks freely in the game. Well, it's no longer called the Game Podcast, but in their Discord, in their deck list channel. So it's pretty
Arena
sweet.
deck list.
Arena deck list. So that's pretty sweet. I think we've said pretty much where we're at. Elliot, you're not going to play the one in 2 weeks at Violet Carl or whatever?
No, I thought it was on the 22nd, so I'm visiting my family that weekend. And I'm going to be 40 minutes from Toronto, but also not playing the Toronto MCQ. I really blew it.
the 10K prize pool.
Even I'll be at the Toronto MCQ to brag, just to brag.
Okay,
I'm gunslinging at the Toronto MCQ. Let's go. Come destroy me for a free Modern Horizons pack. I suck, so it'll probably be pretty easy.
Yeah, probably playing some dumb Steam Vents deck in Modern.
Don't say that. It's mean. It's bullying.
He's a Hallowed Fountain man now.
Ooh, it's true. Damn, that deck's sick.
Oh, I'd much rather be a Hallowed Fountain man than a Celestial Colonnade man.
Ooh, why not both?
Yeah, what are you talking about? Get out of here.
Okay, I got a good question. As we wrap up the standard from my currently mute co-host. For you, Elliot. So why is Haste so good right now in standard? Is it the best ability or is it something else? Flying?
I'm not actually sure which is better between Haste and Flying. It's pretty similar because it's really important to be able to attack Planeswalkers. I would say that I want to say that Haste is the best between the two, just because that's the main strength that the entire Gruul deck has, is that all the cards suck except half of them have Haste. So when you play against decks with 15, 20 Planeswalkers in them, you just get to ranch them right away. And also Nissa gives your lands Haste, and that's the best card in Standard. So slam it, also Haste.
Why not both?
Is there a single card in the world that has Haste and Flying?
No, definitely not. So I guess never mind.
So Alex, what's the best ability in Standard?
First strike.
Okay. Okay. Now to get to another topic conversation. I don't know if Dan wants to get into it, but because he last tweeted about this. Well, he first tweeted about this. Thinking about getting in on this MTG GoFundMe Discord. Can't see things going poorly for me at all. And we see someone leaving the room due to the Discord. And Dan's going to leave as well. Man, I guess it's not. I mean, I was telling Final Nub that I was getting mentally fatigued by this topic as per usual when the Twitterverse, my whole Twitterverse is filled with this. But my weak point is I'm always the sit on the fence type guy. But Dan, is there anything you want to say on the show about this stuff?
This is a bad idea. All right, whatever. Let's go. I'm not one to shy away from this stuff, so whatever. You've baited me successfully. Let's do it. The GoFundMe topic is a very complicated one. It's very difficult to talk about it because inevitably you're going to encounter issues of privilege, issues of classism, and issues of classism kind of expands beyond things, but inevitably kind of racism. Wizards removing the travel awards from MCs is troublesome in a lot of ways. I talked about it in an article that may or may not have gotten some people yelling at me. But basically, it massively disadvantages those who are already disadvantaged. Magic is a very expensive game to play. The Pro Tour, especially without travel awards, is a very expensive tournament to go to. Already at every PT that I played, except for the one that I cashed, I went down a lot of money, like many hundreds of dollars in accommodations and food. This is now that plus way worse. It is, I think, very reasonable for people who are not of economic means, those who are not economically privileged, to request donations to go to tournaments. The Pro Tour is something that generally people strive to go to. It's kind of the peak of competition in a lot of sense. And nobody should be denied the peak of the competition just because they come from a country where, for instance, they come from a country where it is too expensive for them to then travel to Barcelona for the Pro Tour or whatever. And then if there are people from, say America or say Canada who are willing to help them out with that, there's in no way anything immoral with this. I don't think, to be fair, that anyone's really arguing that that's immoral. Everyone who's kind of getting in on this discourse and kind of riling everyone up, being like, yeah, the GoFundMes are lame or whatever, are targeting the people who are doing something a little bit more complicated with their GoFundMes. They're people who are generally Magic players who may or may not be well off. This discourse is impossible to have because we also have no idea what the economic realities of all these people are. But we choose to go in on it anyways because in the age of social media, in the age of everyone having their favorite opinion, we all have to talk about everything always, instead of just being like, oh, this is too complicated, maybe we shouldn't do it. But here I am, the idiot, talking about it. So let's go. There are definitely people who have GoFundMes for MC Barcelona who probably shouldn't have GoFundMes for MC Barcelona. I can't really afford the plane ticket for MC Barcelona, but I can't in good conscience set up a GoFundMe for myself. I don't have that money sitting around. I can probably find that money. It's wrong for me, like on an objective level, to spend this money to go there. I'm probably not going to get that money back. It's probably a bad financial decision. I want to do it and I'm going to do it and I'm able to do it because I'm someone of privilege. I'm not risking my financial well-being. Well, sorry, I'm risking my financial well-being, but not my general well-being by doing this. If you are someone who, like, oh yeah, it would be like inconvenient for me to spend $1,500 on this flight, but I'm well off, things are going to be fine for me, whatever, it probably isn't a good look, at the very least, for you to set up a GoFundMe. And there are then situations where there are people who, for instance, made, God, how do I put this without getting in a lot of trouble? Made perhaps poor financial decisions leading up to or in the time around winning their MCQ, who otherwise may or may not have those problems. Setting up GoFundMes and kind of getting roasted for it. I think if we know all the facts, it could be bad, but because we don't know all the facts, we should probably not pass judgment on those people because we don't know if they're actually like poor, if they're actually economically disadvantaged. We don't know this stuff. It's just don't be mean to each other over things that like kind of it just sucks. I don't know. It's really, there's no like good conclusion to this, except the only like real conclusion I can say is that, damn it, Wizards, pay for the damn flights. Like, for Christ's sake, the Pro Tour is a marketing exercise. The fact that we're having this discussion, the fact that I'm sitting here thinking like, oh God, like I want to have an opinion, but it's so dangerous for me to have an opinion over like the classism of fundraising for Magic tournament flights. Like, damn it, just bring back the travel award. That's it.
I like that. I don't think you said anything that I could possibly disagree with. John's been in love with this topic. What? Any response?
I don't think it's worth getting into it. The horse has been beaten dead. All I can say is, this is a very nuanced topic that has multiple aspects that needs attention, and it's simply not a topic that can be discussed in good faith with the 150 character limit under Twitter. And people are doing that, so it's never going to end well. So there you go.
It's 280 characters, actually.
Oh, pardon me. Then we can. It's open season then.
Anything from you, Elliot?
I, for the most part, agree with Dan, and I especially agree with him on the point of trying to further advance my opinion of why it's stupid to punch down on people who are doing GoFundMes. I am going to protect myself and not go further than that.
Smart
Coward.
Play. Andy.
Well, Dan sort of nailed the part that speaks the most to me, is that the issue is like there's too many moving parts and it's too complicated, and I speak from a position of like not being able to understand a lot of it, that I think I don't really have that much of an opinion. Like oh, was that everything gets first strike? But yeah, I just don't think, like, some of it sucks, like the people who like shipped their prize money in the finals like for the invite and then just GoFundMe the invite just to get into good old 2-for-1 is kind of crappy. But helping people who, like, I don't know, like a young kid from Brazil who just can't afford to go to the MC sounds pretty cool to me. Like a dream come true for this kid, and that kind of stuff sounds cool. But yeah, the whole thing it's very complicated, and each thing is like case by case, and I don't know all the facts, and I'm not sure I deserve to know all the facts about these people in order to decide whether I should give them money. If I feel like giving someone I know money, then that's fine, and if shouldn't shame anyone for trying to get some help or like lift some financial burden. Like, you don't have to donate. I think it's okay. So that's what I got.
In the spirit of keeping everything to 140 or fewer characters for fun, I'm going to take a shot at it because, what's life without some spice? Don't look down on disadvantaged people, and also don't take advantage of anyone. Thank you.
I've been inspired to say I've been inspired to say one thing that may get me in trouble, which is that the main people that I've seen kind of pushing against GoFundMes on Twitter have been like David Williams and Matt Sperling. So I'm just really glad that we assembled the crack team of a lawyer and a poker player who's won millions of dollars to tell us whether or not it's okay to donate money to people who need it to go to travel to a Magic event. I'm glad that they're the council who gets to decide whether or not people get to play Magic tournaments based on their economic situation.
Yeah, people who are really never mind. I'm not going to say it.
I was like, man, I'm thinking back. I'm with Andy in that I would donate to some people that I know, depending on my current situation. At the time, currently no position to donate, but at the time when P. Sams couldn't go because it was in Japan, probably PT Japan, he couldn't afford to go after I think he topped 16. I feel it was GP Atlanta, could have been New Jersey, but one of them. And I would have donated to that, and just because I would have really wanted to see him live his dream, and I wouldn't have needed equity back in that scenario. And also, I still remember it's not really related to this, but I still remember people hating the fact that Jay from the A team got flown to GP Toronto years ago because he was unemployed, but people really wanted to see him there after listening to the A team episodes. But I remember a lot of people was like, "Who is this guy? Why is he getting all this money?" And for me, it's just that's why it's like if you know these people or you think you don't even have to know them, if you think it is going for a good cause or someone that deserves to go, then I'm fine with that. There's nothing wrong with not. There doesn't need to be like poker and getting that equity, but in some cases, sure. If you could sell action also.
I'm generally in agreement with most of the things said here. The main issue I have is that people knew the terms of the game before the PTQ, and like if they can't make it, I don't think like you should try to qualify in good faith without a plan. It's just like people taking the LSAT and the GMAT trying to get into business school or law school without a plausible path to getting in and paying for your schooling. Like you have student loan, which is like a known plan beforehand. But if you didn't have that, then I think you might be taking a spot from someone who would like to get into law school, who would like to go to PTQ and is willing and able to get in. Like that's like the main issue I have. But I think most of the efforts like kind of like misdirected towards going against both sides when I think there is a systemic flaw that Wizards has. Like I don't think they should be reimbursing 100% of the travel coverage, but I think really they need to be giving a more reasonable travel stipend before the fact, maybe like $1,000 or something, because like the winning, like the appearance fee is still taxable, right? And some people can't afford to buy the tickets because the appearance fee is after the fact as well. And there's not a lot of people talking about that aspect of the issue. Most people are just like shouting at the other side and all that. And as I said, like Twitter is really a really bad place to have these like nuanced, like good faith discussions. And for what it's worth, like before Matt Sperling went on his spree, like he made a few posts that I think had a lot of valid points, but unfortunately his GoFundMe was, I think, very callous and thoughtless, and it really defeated any value that his original string of posts may have had. So that's what I think is really unfortunate, because I think there was a discussion to be had, but instead he really just went off the rails with the GoFundMe and instead like try to like double and triple down, which really helped no one.
All right, I think we're good on this topic. Following up, have you been in the Modern Lab with Modern Horizons pre-releases coming this weekend? What are you excited about?
Oh, of course, it's exciting time in the dojo or the lab or the Cabal, whatever you want to call it. There's already people 5-0ing with Holgark and Altar of Dementia. That's exciting. I'm crushing leagues and Neoform. There's going to be like the Horizon lands are going to be very exciting. Force of Negation is going to be very exciting. Actually, like between War and Modern Horizons, I think Modern's landscape is going to be significantly different. And it's going to reward really people who are resourceful and who are paying attention and latching onto these new ideas. Because I think there's going to be various new tier 1 decks come 2-3 weeks.
And Dan actually wrote an article called "Force of Negation Kicks Ass." Have to check it out. Magic.facetofacegames.com. John, how do you feel about the London Mulligan decision that was announced?
I think it's fine. There's like good parts here and there. there's arguments for and against that are pretty nuanced that I didn't think about. Like there are some players like Ari Lax who's like making the argument that this doesn't affect standard and limited that much because of the quantity of the cards being very important. But this really homogenizes the game in the play patterns in eternal formats. And I kind of agree, but like mostly it feels like it's being kind of beloved. So like I don't have a problem with it being online. I really don't think the Allosaurus Rider / Neoform combo can be allowed to exist under London Mulligan. I've been goldfishing hundreds of hands with Neoform, and I'm so far at small sample size and all. I've been killing against the goldfish maybe like 45% of the times before turn 2. And so far I'm at like 65% win rate in competitive leagues and all that. This is without the London Mulligan as well. I think that London Mulligan is going to really assist the deck and some other degenerate decks as well. So I think that I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think it's going to require some bans in the near future.
How are you doing against a deck that's been winning most tournaments I see, including the last 2 F2F Opens? And there's one coming up in North Bay this Saturday, Blue-White Control.
Yeah, so I think it's for sure a new tier 1 deck, and like the results online and in paper both speak for themselves, in my opinion. I think Narset and Teferi have really it's had a very large effect on its ability to cover a variety of decks. And for me, I have a Grand Prix Seattle MCQ coming up in Modern. And my theory from day one, since War and Modern Horizons has been spoiled, is to really go over the top or get the hell under them. And I'm leaning towards the get under them option now. So I'm testing. I think blue-white, like you can't really go toe-to-toe like in the mid-range and the late game unless you're really going over the top. So I'm working towards the Lava Dart Red Phoenix deck. I'm trying to work on Storm. I'm trying to work on Infected White for Teferi and some other white cards like Geist Draft and white hate cards. But I mean, I ordered my Neoform deck cards from face-to-face games. So I'm probably planning on just like jamming that and trying to turn 1 people at Seattle.
I see in your article, Dan, you posted an updated Blue-White, which is like a strong force with force of negation inside of it. Yeah, what are you messing around with Modern now that you're all good with Standard?
Yeah, I started to think about it a bunch. Certainly, I was thinking about it the moment I saw the sweet spoilers. Definitely, if Neoform is this powerful, and by all accounts it is, then Force of Negation becomes a very valuable card to have access to in your deck. I didn't get to play very much against Neoform decks in existing Modern because obviously I didn't play that MC, and so without the Mulligan rule, it is significantly weaker, so people weren't really playing it. But I did find that I was having a pretty easy time at beating it with Blue-White simply because I had access to Negate / Dovin's Veto. And if they weren't able to have that very aggressive draw, which is like impeded by the Vancouver Mulligan, then I was able to beat them fairly reliably. With the London Mulligan, they become much stronger, and therefore Force of Negation then becomes immediately the best way to do it. And I'm pretty sure Blue-White is the best Force of Negation deck, just because of the reasons in my article. But because it's able to actually play a pile of blue cards, recover from the card disadvantage as well as possible, and actually take advantage of being able to tap out in early turns.
John, no chance you're playing that, John?
Just doesn't really fit me. I'm just a one-trick pony, man. Like, you know what I am.
Infect with Teferi. Is that a John unique idea, or are people actually experimenting with this? Sounds sweet.
No, I've seen it around a bit. I know there's like alternate plans that Infect had against like heavy removal decks like Jund and Grixis Shadows, for example, where Geist of St. Draft would get them, and you can actually protect the Geist of St. Draft credibly with your pump spells. And Teferi can be a great turn 2 tempo play where you go turn 1 Noble Hierarch, turn 2 Ink Moth, bounce your Goblin Guide, or no, that's probably not good. Bounce your champion of the parish or someone, and then just like try to like combo kill them a turn later. So I really like the fact that Infect beats a lot of the other linear decks as well, while having a good chance against like Blue-White, for example, because it doesn't have a tertiary color for Fatal Push or Lightning Bolt. And Blue-White is actually a fair matchup, I think. And Narset doesn't do anything. Teferi, kind of annoying, but what are you going to do, I think. So I think Infect, deck like Infect and Storm is well positioned. But yeah, White Splash is experimental.
I like the idea of playing Devoted Druid with access to Teferi 3 as well. It's a pretty similar idea. You guys are like, yeah, I think like any Noble Hierarch deck, except for humans, obviously, that can never cast Teferi, is helped out a lot by adding Teferi to the deck. It also gets the new Mother of Runes knockoff, which is pretty cool. So like, there's a lot of power there to be explored.
I do like the fact that I do like the idea of combining a deck that has acceleration and a combo aspect as well. And I think that Giver is a fairly good addition to that deck as well. So I like where you're coming from, Daniel.
All right, boys. Anything else as we wrap up the show?
First strike.
Andy?
Nah, I got nothing. Go Raptors. Raptors in 6.
Raptors
Oh yeah, let's go. Whoa, let's go Raptors. Come on. That's it.
Raptors are good, man. Raptors are good. I think we're all cheering for the Raptors. I don't
We got one team, man. There's no divide.
Yeah.
As
The
Canadians,
Grizzlies
we
are
don't-
gone.
As Canadians, we don't have another option right now. So
Wasn't it said that on game 1 or game 2, 25% of Canadian population was watching the Raptors? It was insane.
In
Whoa.
little Kingston, we had like 2,500 people in our market square watching the basketball game.
that's impressive.
Well, there was a map of the United States of which states are cheering for which team, and I think it's like California and New Mexico are cheering for the Warriors, and just everything else is Raptors.
No one likes someone who wins all the time. It's boring. Everyone hates the Warriors.
It's boring, man.
How do you feel about the New England Patriots?
I think that sport sucks.
I haven't been. I mean, maybe it's just the Raptors, but haven't even watched any of the NHL finals. Really, just reserving the nights I can to watch Raptors, and finding I actually like it. I might actually enjoy it more than hockey, but we'll see. Maybe when the Habs are in.
I mean, there's proof of that we delayed the show a night so that we could all watch the Raptors game, and no one cares that the Blues and the Bruins are playing right now.
Yeah, I can't imagine caring about hockey when the Raptors are in the NBA Finals. Also, it's a better game and more fun to watch. So
Modern
Harsh but
Horizon
fair.
pre-release this weekend, and what else?
Oh no, you probably have to plug some face open.
North Bay Open. I plugged
he
it on.
already snuck it in.
I stuck it in.
When?
I said that Blue White won the last two, and it would be a contender to win this Saturday's North Bay Open. I guess I'll plug $25 pre-release drafts. Pretty cheap, probably cheaper than most, if not all places. Like that's open only price that you're gonna get, and we still have $10 War of the Spark drafts at all the opens. So that is still, I think, one of the best prices. Definitely pretty darn good, especially when we thought about needing to increase the price due to the War of the Spark, or previously was the tariffs and stuff like that. It looked like we had to bump it up more, but still $10 for I think the rest of the year. So take advantage of that if you don't like Modern and you're in the area, you want to draft, great deal.
What a deal!
I think that's it.
If I have $5 to $10 extra a month and I haven't found a GoFundMe to donate to, is there anything else you could plug for me?
we got the weekly
Patreon.com/firststrike.
Patreon.com/firststrike, or you can be a subscriber to twitch.tv/insanehane. That's also who's back on a pretty regular schedule. Every Tuesday, every Thursday. That's a good plug right there. Probably one of the best players that also streams. That's pretty sweet. And I think that's it. I think Dan, anything you want to plug besides your sweet article that's coming out tomorrow, and what else?
I just tweeted out a free sideboard guide. So, if you don't want to pay for any of that sweet content, then just go reward me with likes as well as your praise and adulation on twitter.com, the website, Also, if you want to play some Modern Horizons this weekend and you're in the beautiful city of Toronto, Ontario, might I recommend visiting my home store of face-to-face games, aka JFSFS Toronto. Come beat me up on Sunday. That there's a pre-release showdown for Modern Horizons. It's 1K in prizes. It's going to be a sweet time. Also, I never win at these events, so I'm a free round for you. Just come claim your match points, claim your prizes. It's easy. See you there.
Like they have to beat you in Modern?
No, it's the Modern Horizons pre-release.
Oh yeah, okay, showdown, yeah. Okay,
just come beat me up. It's easy. And then next week I'll be gunslinging at the MCQ, the face-to-face games Toronto MCQ on the Saturday. In which case you can just come bring a deck and beat me for a free pack of Modern Horizons. God, I'm giving away so many prizes.
Well, a free pack, man, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
pretty
I'm just Oprah out here.
Right.
You get a pack.
Anything else for you, Elliot?
No, I've got nothing. I love Modern Horizons, though. I think it's a cool set.
John?
If you ever play me in the Magic Online queue in the next few weeks, I'm sorry in advance for turn 1 and turn 2.
Oh, crap.
And if you beat him, he'll mail you a pack of Modern Horizons.
Oh, I love that. This is the first time Face-to-Face Games Montreal is doing a midnight pre-release of at least it's been a while, or first time ever, midnight pre-release of a set that's not one of the regular expansions. So I'm not sure how well that's going to do, but how excited people are for that. Usually people show up for in droves for the normal expansions and the core sets. And I'm hopeful it's a huge hit as well. People seem to be stoked about the set. And that's it for me. Thanks, Dan, for coming on the show. Congratulations once again for winning with Blue Red Phoenix. I'm really excited to take your exact list for a spin on either MTGO or Magic Arena. And I might be playing it this Sunday. We'll see. We will see. Or Tangram's deck, Andy. All right. So for Andy, Elliot, John, myself, and Dan, thanks again. And Alex, we will see you next episode next week. And hopefully, wait, none of us have an MCQ to play. Hopefully, I don't know, piles of money drops on us for some reason. So we'll see you next episode. Bye, guys.